Okay, right?
I
think we're gonna start.
All right, folks.
All right. Does somebody have
I hear you.
volume on?
I'm like, I hear
I
you.
don't hear my voice. Just mute. Thanks.
I don't want to hear you.
No. All right, good afternoon. Happy summer, whenever it decides to show up. Pretty brutal. Brutal.
It'll be warm when I'm right.
I know, that's what will happen. Yeah. So for the record, let's all make introductions again. I'm Samantha Watson. I'm on the school committee.
Bill Melvin, School Committee.
Liz Crowley, GAEP Secretary, Bargaining Co-Chair.
Anthony Paralisi, Massachusetts Association.
Marion Aiello, GAEP Vice President, Co-Chair. Monica Madruga, GAEP President.
Yana DeBose, ESP.
Dawn Leone, ESP, and I guess now East Veterans Building Rep.
Janelle Jackson, ESP at Gloucester Elementary, now another building rep for East Vets.
Joanne Moore, ESP, McColl. Holly O'Connor, Co-Chair, Bargaining Group.
Alberta Eastern Junior School.
And Mr. Superintendent.
Okay.
Sorry, do we have?
It's
Okay,
starting.
fine, great, yes.
Me to start off?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, so we have a number of things for you. I guess just as a matter of housekeeping, we've got sign-in sheets going around. Also, we don't have to address this now, but just to put it out there, I have a conflict on the date of the next negotiation session. I think it was July 20th. So we've got a couple of alternative dates. So can provide those to you now or towards the end, whatever is easiest. But just wanted to kind of get out of there, something that we need to do. The TAs that you had sent, we signed. So you have the copy of that. You gave us the TAs, the more recent TAs. So we'll take a look at those and hopefully get those squared off tonight as well. We've got a host of responses, updated responses, various proposals that we can go over. We also have what should also belong on the TA list when we went through, and I can pass that out. It's kind of, I think I sort of fall in the housekeeping category, but in our proposal, initial proposals, it was proposal 1. We had a TA. One of you, yeah. We had this as TA, so I just wanted to pass it out and have you guys take a look at it, but we would just add it to the TA list. So
part of it you'll see is both sides are referencing the whole time, but I think if I just got lost in the
TA
paper,
shuffle,
basically.
it was back in April 27th.
But I just want to check out with everyone on that.
So there's that. If you could take a look at it and then either get back to us now or in pockets. And then we've got protests to go through.
So I think we signed those on May 8th, actually.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. All right. So we just didn't check it with the actual TA. Okay, good. Great. So then, and then I assume there's some updates from here.
Yes, yeah, we have some stuff for you too.
Okay. Good. So you want us to go forward with our?
That would be great, yeah.
Okay, great. Let me just pass out. You'll have it, right?
Yeah.
So, the first document that's going around is just the responses to various proposals, and then the second document that's going to be passed around is what we've kind of been referring to, or we're going to be referring to, sort of a conference for professional development pieces. Just in terms of the first document, in terms of just what you're seeing, we took what you had sent, Anthony, which was like that comprehensive proposal, right, that document, and then just put in the responses that we had from last time. And I'll go through the whole thing, but just for readability purposes, you'll see the responses from last time in black. And then we kind of did the same thing where the new responses are in green, right? So today's responses. And then have it organized basically the same way that it was. So I'll go through it. And we also have another handout as well, which is the salary piece of this, but when I get there, I think it's always easiest to. So let me just go through where we are with the various proposals from. So if you go to the second page, you'll see that we notated a number of places, even at the top of page 2, that for a number of the PD proposals, we have a kind of again, as I mentioned, a comprehensive PD response. And I'm going to defer on that for a second because Ben's just going to talk about that piece of it. So I'll just go through the ones that don't have the PD part to it. Trying to think of doing this in kind of a logical fashion. So we have a TA on B, the expenses proposal from GAEP. We'll TA that one. On H, we previously had a counter, but we have that as part of the PD piece that we'll get to. On 3, we're rejecting the overtime language regarding the summer program language. We are rejecting proposal number 7, the 1 period per day proposal. And we also just numbered the pages for ease of purpose. So on page 4, proposal number 8, we are rejecting the proposal that I think we had discussed substance last time regarding the substitute, as well as proposal 9 regarding the personal data request. I think we had been talking about that too, that's something that we'll address. If you turn to page 5, proposal 10, the sick leave, we're rejecting the sick leave proposal. Our belief is that the sick day allotment is sufficient as is. And you'll see on number 2 with the sick leave that we also have language on this as well. That's we're interested in our original proposal. I think the next one, fast forward to page 9. I think we may have discussed this a little bit, the idea of this last time. So this is on proposal number 12, the sick leave language. So the proposal that we have basically a counter is if you look at the membership piece of it and the 90-day probationary period, we would accept that with the inclusion of workday, which is consistent with other language in the contract that defines it as a workday, the 90 days. So we would accept that if we turn to the following page under D, that was withdrawn. The proposal or modifying what was the long-term voluntary injury clause. Let's see.
And then just as a reminder that the other ones from 6.
Yep.
So just below Greg.
Yep.
Strike, you strike 30 from the original language and replace it 45 days, maybe granted to any member a single day. Yeah, that counters this.
Right. Thanks. Okay, so the next is on page 12, which is in response to proposal 14, the tuition reimbursement. So that's something that that's in the second. Why don't I just go through this and then I can come back to the salary, just so we haven't passed that out yet. And it probably makes sense just to have that as sort of a separate discussion. So back to the salary in a second. On number, for page 15, proposal number 18. We have a counter on the workshop language, which would be the inclusion of what you see there in green, or attending a workshop or meeting required by the principal within the building. And I think, oh, and then the last part is we had some discussion on the parental leave. I'm now looking at page 17. And we kind of want to just revisit that in terms of where we had left off, which, we had some discussion about, I think, Anthony, what you had said was, okay with, within the discretion of the superintendent, if we took off the language at the end, which decision shall not be subject to a grievance. And I think we're pretty close on that. So I think we just need to kind of talk about that a little bit. And I think we're probably not going to square that one away tonight. So just kind of as a hold for that for discussion, if we can kind of just come back. Now, you want to do this?
I think you passed already.
What's that?
The professional learning, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Professional learning, thank you.
Don't pass that up.
Yeah, I'll wait on this.
Thank you, Greg. So, as you saw in that document you went through, we want to respond to a bunch of the proposals here with sort of just a comprehensive approach. The cover page really explains a lot, but I'll just say it. So, really the intention is, as we said from the beginning, is how do we create more professional learning opportunities for ESPs so there can be even more successful in their jobs and supporting students, staff, or schools and across schools, right? And how do you do that in a way that moves, all school forward, or grade forward, or classroom forward, that sort of stuff. And so you really think of that in two ways. One, it needs to be a common approach works best on that. One that's collaborative, one that's working with other folks in other ways. But and it's organized in that way. But then also the notion that we said from the beginning is, there needs to be more of it, right? But more well planned, okay. And then if you think about that, there's sort of two areas that are most important to us, and that is one, helping paraprofessionals, ESPs, support them in doing the work they do every day better, and feel more successful and feel more well prepared. But then also help ESPs that want to progress towards teaching and licensure. So you'll see, 1 and 2, those are 1 and 2 on this cover page here. And then the rest of the document is organized around that 1 and that 2. So again, number 1 being supporting ESPs to successfully support students, teachers, and be successful in their jobs. That's number 1. And number 2 is supporting those ESPs who are pursuing a teaching career or want to pursue a teaching career and attain licensure. So that's how it's organized. So I'll start on the first part, which is preparing and training ESPs to successfully support students and teachers. So on page 2 then is just, so we have a combination of proposals that we've already put forth, some counter proposals, and then also TAs that we both agree to that sort of fit in this, okay? And what you'll see is actually a whole lot of TAs, right? Which really support this approach, or the approach that I think is really important. So first is what we put forward just in terms of being clear around time during the established, workday, work year that can be used for more professional learning. And then really the second bullet there at the bottom would be sort of that's the additional piece. And that would be, based on whatever wages we agree to. But that would be a 1-hour meeting or 1 2-hour meeting. That could be the regular staff meeting. Sometimes staff meetings is very helpful to have ESPs there, for their own learning and for the sense of connection and what's happening in school. Sometimes, not so much, but we work that out in terms of, school by school, basically. So we want to have that, but that also could be on any given month, time separate, additional time paid, obviously. So we're making sure we're getting enough time to work together to support ESPs. So that's A there. And going to page 3, page 3 at the top there, that's a piece of this counter proposal, which is how do you make sure that what's one mechanism? There's a lot of mechanisms here to make sure that any professional learning that that ESPs are doing within a school or across schools, across district is relevant and meeting their needs. And so we've created a mechanism there, really a team of ESPs that would meet every year or on a regular basis. I'm not sure if we spelled it out how much regular is, but to work with both the assistant superintendent and the director of special education on like we did some this year, for example, choose an example, clear by talking to folks and listening to people this year that de-escalation was a really important piece, and that conversation, that input came up with that together, actually separately in some ways, but together. And so there, more, this hopefully is a mechanism to continue to do that. So while we acknowledge that we want to increase the amount and also quality of professional learning, we want to make sure that it's tied to what ESPs are experiencing in the classroom. So another part of that, and we already discussed this, but we tentatively agreed to proposal 4D. That's a piece of it. And that really ties into really the combination of doing this as collective, but also just giving more opportunities. Really is what that's about. And then I won't go through tentative agreements, but you'll see these, about the summer training, both for all new ESPs, but then also for those who are in specific special education programs. Your proposal on initial training and recertification de-escalation. That's also part of this, obviously, in terms of helping make sure ESPs are even better prepared for doing their jobs well. And then connected to that is making sure folks are prepared and training newly hired ESPs. Again, that's the agreement we have on the Para-Pro exam, and then the agreement we have on this is the newly hired folks as well. 1 day of paid training before they start their jobs. So that's really the main pieces that we want to sort of put forth on the notion of really important to support ESPs and work with ESPs to make sure folks feel well prepared, well trained, and capable of doing their jobs well, even better than you already are. Number 2 is for those folks who are want to be on a path towards teacher licensure. So the first one is on A here, I'm on page 5, 2A, is sort of our response to what was a confusing conversation around the tests or the exams or the preparation courses. So we're trying to square that a little bit, and you guys will see. And really, what we're saying there is, that a ESP would have the opportunity its district would pay for the communication and literacy MTEL, both subtests, and then also one subject matter test as well. Okay, for any given paraprofessional while they work here. And then the last piece here is tuition reimbursement. And for us, the real priority here is coursework programs that are leading towards licensure. And so this is really where our focus is on this, as opposed to sort of anything under the sun, any types of programs or that sort of thing, we'd really like to support folks who are on this path or choose to make on this path towards licensure, teacher's licensure. And in that, we would offering 2 approved courses per year, up to two courses. We talk about there's some similar language in here around just satisfactory completion. So there's some new language here. There's some language that we took from your proposal, which came from GTA. We defined approved education licensure program. We would work with ESPs to define which ones those would be, which programs would be sort of the ones that folks could utilize. We put local there, and I think that's important. Doesn't mean it has to be in person. Could probably be any combinations of different ways that local institutions, thank you, support, but that's what we work out together. Budget amounts here, we start the ball in this first year. because our budget is set in many ways, and so to add a big number here, it's difficult for FY 24, but then we start in FY 25, $10,000 per year, the budget for that. Part of it, I think, is it's hard to know just what the demand will be. Presumably it'll grow over time, that's what we expect, as folks sort of understand this is out there. But we define a little bit about just timing, process, that sort of stuff as well. So that's our response to really in terms of tuition reimbursement. Want to keep really focused on teacher moving career path for folks if they choose so to becoming a teacher. And then the last piece is this tentative agreement that we had on GAEP proposal around being able to participate in a pre-practicum or towards the teaching license. We've already agreed to that. So that's really sort of, as we said, response to a bunch of the proposals that have been out there. And hope you can consider those.
Okay, I will pass around the salary piece. It's still going around, but folks,
Oh, yeah. You want to start going? Okay. Okay. Sure.
Oh, go for it. Check.
Yeah. Greg will talk about this more in depth because sometimes these things are hard to follow, but just we sort of ended last session with us sort of emphasizing the importance of experience in the district, and we really want to continue to emphasize that. Years in this district do mean something to us. We feel that the longer you're in this district, the more value you're going to bring to the work that you're doing. And so as you'll see, our approach is going to continue to sort of highlight that as we continue.
The other piece is just feel that with a very strong opening a wages proposal, something that as Anthony and others have said, is not been seen before. We continue to believe that our budget is set for next year, and it's for lots of different reasons. It's not an easy budget. While there's been significant increases from the city, we are tied up against it, and so Greg is going to go through our approach here. But you'll see they're not. You'll see that we really do believe the proposal was very good.
I'll talk just a little bit about the way this works, which is not entirely different from, I think, the handout we've given you before, in the way that it's laid out. But I'll just first highlight the nature of the counter. So it's a 3% adjustment for year one. And then a 2.5 in year two and a 2.6 in year three. Kind of just dovetailing with what Bennett said, the idea that you kind of know one budget, realistic budget picture versus years two. And then we listened to Anthony and the team sort of presentation regarding the idea of collapsing the steps and built in that concept to this proposal where we'll propose reducing or eliminating, I should say, steps 12 and 13. So in terms of what you're looking at, when you're seeing in the first page, it's kind of a more user-friendly, identifying where you could be on a particular step. But as you flip through the pages and you look at FY really 24, 25, 26, the last two pages, you'll see what the reduction in steps actually looks like. Make steps, it makes sense in terms of kind of collapsing, taking out those steps. So, for example, FY 2024, it goes 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 14, right? So we've eliminated steps 12 and 13 in that grid, right? So it's kind of two different ways of sort of looking at what the grid is now versus what it would look like with the steps taken out. That's sort of part one. Part two is the increase in longevity. You're proposing would be $200 increase for all items. And that's. Oh, thank you. It's on page 2, right? So you'll see that for each one, it's an increase of 200 across the board. So, you know, the main highlights are, again, kind of what Ben and I think Sammy part had said, that when we opened, the whole idea was to put on the table what we had, right? It was a very significant first step to put out there. We really want to have that conversation about sort of what it would look like and potential that you're ranging it a little bit with the ideas that you had, right? But that was really what we were bringing out there. And we heard you on the idea of kind of a reduction in the step. We included that in this one as well.
I just want to say again, and this is obviously a new approach of looking at it, but on pages 1 and 2, this is a reminder, you know, the first column, you see what step you're on now, and then looking across, just across that same row, you can see what your hourly rate or your salary change or the percentage increase you get each year. And then typically the last column, you know, if you know, whatever step you start on, the last column there is the percentage increase or the salary increase across 3 years. So just trying to get it so folks can look at one table to see what the increases are for as an individual, as opposed to like flipping different, you know, tables. So and then obviously pages, you know, 4, 5, 6 are the typical salary tables. So I think that's all we have to.
That is what we have.
So if we eliminate step 12 and 13, do all those people automatically jump up to 14 or
Yes,
they go
yes.
back to 11?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I just want to.
Yep.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yep.
And you said it was just for ease of like interpreting, you know, being able to see where the changes are. But you're not proposing we keep the missing numbers, like keep the.
No, right.
Would-
No,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
I just want to make sure.
That's always a discussion in and of itself. Before, yeah. So, yeah.
I have a lot of experience with color coded charts showing
Yeah.
people.
No, that's fair.
If we didn't agree to double steps, we're not.
Well, and that's part of it, right? Is sort of just so people understand what they're actually looking at before then.
Maybe a format that's,
Yeah.
Roberta will be getting a million phone calls.
Yes, yeah.
Anybody else have any other questions? So I think we need to caucus or respond, although there's a lot of places where I think we were thinking in the same direction.
Does it make sense for you guys to share whatever you have?
That's what I'm trying to like
Okay.
figure out if we need to just look at it one more time to take in what,
Oh,
Like
because some of the
Oh, I
stuff
Maybe
that,
repeat stuff
okay. I get it.
or things that you were like, things you addressed. There were some things we went back and we were like, well, we never talked about this, but you addressed them and the stuff that you.
Makes sense.
I think we can
I mean, we
do,
can pass them.
we can do this. Our responses to outstanding.
That's where.
It's okay.
Thank you. Don't feel alone.
So for your number 2, which is the sick leave, we're going to respond to that with this other packet after have a conversation. We did put into writing what we said to you verbally last time, our response number 3 about removing the part and subject to agreements. So that's in orange, the update from today on pages 2 and 3 of this packet. And then we recognize that you included this in your comprehensive proposal, so, we'll have to take a look at that, just kind of compare and see what our response is to that. But part of that response will include our counter, which if you accept our counter to number 4, we would withdraw our number 7, which is the collaboration time. So what we would propose is that the last paragraph of the last bulleted section, instead of combining either a 1 2-hour meeting or 2 1-hour meetings, that we would bifurcate that, and there'd be a 1-hour meeting each month after school, that could be for PD or for regularly scheduled staff meetings, and that second hour would be dedicated for educators to come as that, and we would draw our request to have. So that's our update on yours. And I do think, because you did have, and we appreciate all the work you've done, you have a really comprehensive proposal, and that will sort of, may not change, but it will reflect how we present things. So I think it'd be good for us to caucus.
Okay, so you want to caucus?
Yeah.
Dying.
It's nice in here.
It's nice.
Oh, here in my spot.
Yeah.
Are we all set? I'm sure.
Yep, Maria, we're good, right?
All set, Maria? Yep.
Okay, so the professional learning, proposal that you gave to us is really, there's a lot of it we want to look at. It looks really good. I'm really excited for a lot of the things in here, but we want a little bit more time to like really go through this and check that everything was. We thank you for the time and what you put into it because, let's go. We'll get back to you on that.
Totally understandable.
Thank you.
So before we respond to your wage counter, I just want to go through, this is everything on our end that we still see as open. And obviously we typed it up before receiving your document. So, we'll have to, some of the things you've reiterated a rejection to are still in this packet. And I would just point out that, we still hold them as on the table from our end as part of our proposal. So we weren't sure if we were going to get another response because had been held on some of these things. So, but we just take a look at number 4. As Monica just explained, with 4A, we need to dig into your comprehensive package. And I see, I think we already confirmed all the TAs that are already through here. And now we have some new ones on B, so we thank you for that. So if we go to the 3rd page, and I should take your note about numbering pages.
Yeah.
It's noted. I every table I'm at, somebody says it to me, and I just, the one thing I refuses to.
No comment on it made during the caucus.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So those proposals I alluded to where you rejected again today, we're still not ready to withdraw them. Hopefully, as we progress, we may be able to change our minds on the committee. Number 7, we agree to withdraw if you will accept the counts we presented before the caucus for number 4. Number 8.
Sorry, let's try to keep up here.
The top, they say proposal under.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
Okay,
thanks.
so proposal 7 you gave us right
earlier, yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
Proposal 8. But if you just rejected it again, it's still there. Proposal 9 is the personal day request. So now we're into modified. So if you go to proposal number 10, our sick leave, I think we can consider this a counter to your response from earlier, or your rejection from earlier. What we really are trying to do with this modified proposal is 1, have some parity with the other educators in the district. So we've reduced the number of accumulatable sick days from the 183 to the 165 that teachers currently have. We think that these other improvements to the existing language in being able to use your sick time for your family, are really important, and modern, family medical leave proposals. We have, our members have families, they have children, they have people to care for, and when they have to take that time off and either have no or few days of their own accrual that they can use for that purpose, it makes it very difficult. So we do want to hold on that and include the improvement so that it can be used to care for ill or injured members of your family. And the half-day increment, we really think is a benefit to the employer, because then you're not losing out on a worker for the entire day. People can come in the morning and leave after lunch for their doctor's appointments. They can come in a little bit late and still be available to students. And it's far less disruptive than if they're just completely absent and then have to be covered for the entire day. Again, hopefully we make enough improvements that staffing becomes less and less of an issue because it's easier to fill open spots. And then again, we just reiterate that, you know, quarantines are out of our control, and, you know, that's something that, if it's ordered by the Department of Health, you know, a member shouldn't be penalized because they had a close contact with somebody who had a communicable disease, whether it's now that we're past COVID, whatever future pandemic there may be, knock on wood, that we've lived through one of our lifetime. With part two, we sort of combined our two ideas. We are willing to maintain the current system where new employees are not front loaded with all of their days. But we still think that a new employee should have the same number of days that other employees get. You know, the fact that they're new doesn't mean they get sick any less often. In fact, new educators get sick more often and likely need more sick time because they're not exposed to the germs and bugs and creepy crawlies at schools until they come here. And anybody who's been a first year or an early career educator will tell you those first couple of years are when you use the most of your sick time. And so we would propose that they are able to accrue the 17 days that is given to teachers as well. And we're asking to be given to the ESPs, but keep this current scheme of front loading some at the start. So 7 days at the beginning of their employment, and then they accrue 1 each month after that. So there's 10 months in the school year, 7 right up front, 1 a month gets you to 17. For number 11, our parental leave, we would modify our proposal to split the 12 weeks between paid and unpaid or sick time. So in green on the first page of proposal 11, we would get rid of the word unpaid altogether instead of changing it to paid. And delineate further down that of those 12 weeks, 8 shall be paid, and the remaining 4 would be used from accrued sick time or be unpaid if the sick time had been exhausted.
Is that the one that starts 8 weeks of parental?
Yes.
work?
Yep. That green text. 8 weeks of parental leave paid, remaining unpaid or sick time. So turning 2 pages. Number 12. Again, we are okay with the insertion of the word workday in B. So that's not in writing here because we hadn't had that yet.
I got it.
But we'll tell you that. And then you had asked us to remove B, but instead we modified it. And as we explained last time, sick bank is a quirky thing because it's supposed to be there as a safety net, but you exhausted your sick time before being able to access the safety net for a long-term injury or illness, and then you have an intermittent injury or illness, you can't use the sick bank. Whereas if you had exhausted your sick time, say you're a new educator with 10 days, and you have 10 sick days, and then boom, you break your leg, you could get the 10 sick days you were awarded and then go to the sick bank. So if somebody misses significant time due to a previous long-term illness, injury, or parental leave, we would ask that those people can then go to the sick bank again for the up to 15 days at a time that would get approved. We would just ask that it be allowable under the rules to ask for, I need a day here because I was out last week and I just came back from parental leave and I have no sick time left because I had to use 4 weeks, assuming that gets approved. That's our counter there. On H, teacher sick bank is 180 days as the maximum a single member can be given in any school year. So we modify our proposal to match the teachers. 14 is tuition reimbursement, as Monica said, we're holding there. And then the rest remain financial. Again, our number 18, we do still hold on. We understand you rejected before caucus. we're not prepared to withdraw that at this time.
Which one was that, Anthony?
18, which was the you paid for sub. I know you countered, we're still sort of holding on it. We actually didn't get to talk much about your. I think it's actually better to say we're tabling our response to counter on.
18, keep going.
Enabling 18.
But, sorry, but 17 you withdrawn.
17 we withdrew. Yep, sorry, I accidentally skipped over that. We're withdrawing 17 altogether.
And sorry, say 18 again.
18, we are
You're
gonna tape,
holding.
we're gonna hold on our response to your counter earlier. We actually didn't talk much about that.
Got it, I understand.
And 20. We are holding on that. Oh, you did just. Our financial counter, which took up the bulk of our time, we know you're voting on your budget tonight. So we always understand, especially as we're coming to this late stage of the contract expiring on Friday, budget season coming to an end, you've done all the work that you have to do for that. So we understand the constraints of year one. We're still not prepared to accept 10%. We're going to counter. And we heard what you said about years 2 and 3 being undecided, undetermined. And so we hope that you understand this position. One, this is a significant change to what our members told us to ask for. But in consulting with the reps, we're willing to, as part of our package response, withdraw our proposal for additional lanes at this time. We still think they're important and valuable. There are a lot of locals right now, a lot of school committees who are actively agreeing to them. Amesbury just settled to add lanes for associates and bachelors. Earlier this week, I believe North Andover already first started discussing it. So there's, the movement is to do this. And again, recognizing your PD proposal offers less than we wanted, but offers tuition reimbursement for that. So that was part of our consideration. We appreciate your willingness to drop a couple of steps. We ask you to do a little bit more. So all that's to preface, this is what our proposal is going to do. We propose forgetting about percentages, talk real dollars, because percentages, when you make less than 30,000, don't really mean much. They sound great, but 10% on $22,000 is $2,200. 10% on $26,000 is $2,600. Instead of talking about percentages, we would propose in the first year, actually in each year, adding $5,000 to every step in each year. That would be $585,000 each year in new dollars.
At 117.
At 117 FTE. We would accept dropping steps 12 and 13, but counter also dropping steps 5 and 6 to raise the starting pay at the same time. And to recognize experience. And after the currently 11 years, steps no longer equal experience. Max out, but on steps, you don't max out on experience. Steps are not experience bonuses because every local has a different number of steps. The prevailing wage is the top step. And for new people to have to wait 11 years is, we still think, too long. So we asked for 3, you offered 8. We're responding with 6 as the new scale. So we would drop 12 and 13, but also drop the first 2. And that's our kind of 5,000 a year. Hold on our longevity as we originally proposed it, and drop 5 and 6 in addition to 12 and 13.
The 5,000 per year, say that again, like, is that so?
So you add 5,000 onto, so let's say we delete the steps first.
Yeah.
So you get 6 steps, whatever's
Yeah,
left.
okay, yeah, I get that right.
Add 5,000 to every single step.
In the first year?
In the first
Starting
year.
with step 7.
Repeat in year 2, repeat in year 3.
So $15,000 over 3 years.
Correct.
Okay.
So that would bring us significantly closer to a living wage. It would bring the starting step into the $30,000 range. It'd bring the top step into the, near the $40,000 range. It still take longer to get there. So while it's a higher top step than our last proposal, because it's 6 steps instead of 3, it's still stretched out. It doesn't add an increased cost. But again, the living wage in Essex County today is $46,000 to $48,000 according to those wicked smart guys in MIT. And this proposal, and in fact, none of our proposals, unless you were to accept Lane's, could do that. We think that this is doable. $2,600 on the top step is your current offer. We're asking you to do a little more. It's significantly less than what we opened with.
Questions? Clarifying questions?
No questions on this, but I do want to just go back to the date of the next one, just follow it here because.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
And I know I'm shifting a little bit, but I think better follow it together sooner than the pocket. Just thinking about. So the dates that we talked about and have available are July 19th or July 26th, both at 2 p.m. Either of those days.
Three with
Yeah,
it.
there's this third one, but I'm just saying those two are both at 2 p.m. The third one.
Oh,
is-
sorry, those are 3 p.m. We start at 2 p.m.
Oh, I'm sorry,
2
3 p.m.
p.m.
Yeah, I'd read 2 p.m. So 3 p.m. on those two dates. July 24th, which is a Monday in the evening. We didn't really, I think, pick a time, but we know that the afternoon.
It's at 5, right?
Yes, 19th or 26th at 3. The point is,
It sounds like
fourth on Monday. So
we can all do the 19th.
What day of the week is that?
It's a Wednesday.
Wednesday.
awesome.
Great.
That's great. Thank you. Appreciate that.
So
Yeah,
3 o'clock for us to start.
that's great.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we should caucus.
Thank you.
Thanks. Also signs.
All good? We're good?
Yeah.
Okay. So as we sort of move forward, I think it's important that we sort of have some sort of reality-based conversation. You know, our job here on the committee, the school committee's job is to really sit squarely in reality within the confines of our budget. And although we understand the living wage as an MTA strategy here in Gloucester, again, we need to really live within the confines of our budget. I mean, I hope you guys know that this year for FY24, we've asked for, or we're getting 2.7 million in addition to our budget. We asked for $650,000 more than that, and we didn't get that. So and within that, we have allocated 3.2 million for GAEP. It's our job to stay within that budget. The one piece that's consistently left out of the MIT living wage strategy is that the MIT living wage is based on 2,080 hours. So we're going to pass out what that looks like in terms of the amount of hours ESPs work. I'll let you guys get a hold of it. And I think it's really important for us to be transparent about what a living wage based on the MIT definition is and how many hours they say a living wage, how many hours you have to work to get to that living wage. And we think that the proposal that we've offered is right in line with the living wage in relation to time work.
You'll see that at our current proposal.
Then I'm sorry, can you just be a little bit louder?
Yeah, at our current proposal, as you see on the sheet, you know, all the salaries are above $40,000 on an annual basis. As the your tool, which is you're using, which is MIT living wage calculator. So using those same hours, at the strong proposal we put forward so far, all the wages are on about 40,000 starting this year, FY24, sorry, and then increase obviously as we performance.
Sure.
So we look forward to continue to work with folks.
Yes.
And you know, and obviously the dates after the July 19th, and we'll continue that.
So I understand you don't have you don't have a counter. It's just to reiterate.
No, we have to look, you know,
Okay.
look at your proposal.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify. I want to make sure. So you're just not ready yet.
Cost it out.
I mean, we presented you with a counter today too. So
That's our counter.
that
Right,
is our
but we then
counter.
countered your counter.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, we need some time just to.
okay, that's what I want to make sure we're on the same page. with
Process
that.
it and talk about it. And we'll come back to you.
So a couple of things. I've heard this comparison before about the 20-80 hours.
Mhm.
Our philosophy is one job should be enough. We don't say that to teachers that, you know, because you work 10 months, you don't deserve a better wage. And if you do, we don't accept that argument there either. They're educators. They work the same school year as other educators, and one job should be enough for any educator who works with our students. That 20,080 number is so somebody who's working at Whole Foods making $20 an hour gets a living wage. We believe that if you're an educator in any public school system, the school year is the season, just like Tom Brady when he played. So who's the new quarterback? Do we have it? You know who's playing this year? They get paid for a season, and nobody says that because they're being paid astronomical amounts. Nobody even thinks twice to think that they get paid $10 million a year and only work 12 weeks, 16 weeks out of the season. So we don't think that that's an apt comparison. The MIT living wage says that for 12 months, this is how much it takes to live. And we work a 12-month school season that has 2 months for professional development. It has 2 months in the calendar where most of our employees do work during that time. And if they work the entire summer program, they still don't come close to a living wage. So, we're definitely interested in your next counter. We hope that there's room still to negotiate, knowing year one, we may need to come down a little bit more than we'd like in year two and year three. But we'd also like the school committee to think bold if year one is so limited because you're voting tonight, to really think bold about year two and year three. Today's counter, while going up by 0.1% in total, actually reduces years two and year three. So, it really doesn't seem like much movement at that stage. The dropping of the steps, we recognize, so I'm not saying it's nothing. Another thing I want to draw your attention to, and maybe before tonight's meeting, you might want to consider this, but are you familiar with chapter 44, section 32? Of school funding law?
Off the top of my head, no.
So in Massachusetts, as a school committee, you can request from the city council more than the mayor has appropriated in your budget. All you have to do is make a motion to pass a budget that has that $3 million increase that you asked for. And then if 2/3 of the city council vote to approve of it, it becomes law over the mayor's objection. So we would love to work with you to get 2/3 of the city council to approve a higher amount, if that means we can get a number that we could accept.
The one thing I would like to say to that is there's this assumption that we haven't worked
I'm not
extremely hard outside of our meetings to have each one of us to have conversations with the city council and the mayor
Sure.
to advocate for more. It
But as a
takes
school
an
committee, you
inordinate
can
amount of
put it
time.
squarely at
I
their
get
feet.
that, but I'm just saying, there's a lot of advocacy behind the scenes effort.
I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
I also want to point out some numbers that we've crunched. Over the past 5 years, net school spending in Gloucester as a percentage of what's required has actually decreased by over 6%. In 2018, net school spending was 139%, which is admirable. I have a lot of districts that don't come anywhere close, so I'm not saying that wasn't good. But it's gone down from last year's high water mark at 140 to 132.9 for this current school year. It was budgeted for FY23. That's a 6% decrease.
Very well aware of that.
So I'm not saying you weren't, but I want to put it on the record. There's $4 million in free cash that if the city does not want to approve an increased school budget. And again, if you're telling us year one is locked down, we're happy to consider a smaller amount in year one for a real, when we're talking about real world situation, real numbers in years 2 and year 3. I mean, 10%, $2,600, I understand. Everyone recognizes it's more than you've ever put on the table before. But we are in unprecedented times. And our professionals especially are seeing the kinds of numbers we're proposing, we're working towards. That is what's being settled. Amesbury is already doing better than Gloucester. They just ratified a tentative agreement earlier this week. Their starting salary is $32,000 for a school year, and they're topping out in the $40,000 range. Lawrence paraprofessionals are making more than first-year teachers. Greater Lawrence. We can stay in Cape Ann, and we look at Topsfield just said. There are settlements that are trending where we're going, and the small, poking around the edges to try to make something palatable, it doesn't work for our members. You started these negotiations by saying to us, we want to do something transformative, and we want to work with you on that. And so we hope you'll consider slightly smaller scale than you were willing to propose, than you were willing to bring to us today. And we certainly hope you'll recognize that by taking away our proposal for lanes, that is a significant move from what our members thought they deserve, and we still believe they deserve, to stay within a framework that you're currently still comfortable with. But these other locals I'm talking about, they're adding lanes for degrees. They're doing these things. It's not an MTA strategy. That is also something we hear quite frequently. This is a rank and file movement of members. MTA does not go anywhere and say to ESPs, you need to fight a living wage campaign. Me and my colleagues, our phones ringing off the hook with paras wondering, why aren't we doing that? Why isn't my city doing more? And so we're connecting. I mean, they're members of the same union. So they talk and they strategize and they coordinate. And the locals on Cape Ann are coordinating. Manchester Essex paras are going to go to the table, making very similar demands. Hamilton Wenham is doing this
We
now.
hear you. We hear
Right.
you.
So That's our context. So, I just want to push back on like it's big MTA telling people what to do. It's rooted in reality. It's rooted in the lives of our members.
Thank you.
Yeah, so our next session is
Thank you.
the 19th
19th,
at
February.
3:00.
Thank you.
Great, thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
I mean, not supposed to be.
Oh, do we want
Budget out of-
to have third in September?
But it's on everything.
Yeah.
We don't have any-
Do we want to add
You want to add a third?
add a third one?
You will, starting this,
What's our last?
The last date is
23rd.
August 23rd.
Yeah, September.
oh, are we looking for September?
What date? Yeah. August
I'm just throwing a date out, the 15th.
Yeah.
That works.
Well, hold on, we need some,
Works for us.
set on our
I don't even
side.
know when our school meeting is.
Yeah, school committee member.
Oh, that's
Okay, that was a bad
Yeah,
date.
that's, can't be the second, third or fourth Wednesday.
We do Monday, the 11th.
That's fine by me.
Well,
Yep, that's fine.
I can't do the 12th. I have an arbitration. 14. I can do 14.
I can do the 14th.
Okay, I can get 14.
3 p.m. or is that later?
Well,
No,
back in
it would be
school, so-
nice.
so-
Get it back at 5.
Yeah, so
So 5, right? 5.
we're at 5.
We're at 5 and 5:30.
5:30, I think that's when we were met, right? 6.
We met at 6.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
six.
we started
meet
at
at
6.
5:30.
5:30, 5:30 start?
All blur.
You could do a 5:30 start.
Yeah, 5:30.
Does 5:30 work for everyone?
5:30.
So we're going to be here at 5.
14 at 5:30, right?
Mhm.
Great.
Thank
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Hold on.
Oh, that's what that's 5:30.
Oh, that's why, yeah, never mind. That's why. That's the also, they also use.
Good.
Oh, we got another meeting in.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
Oh, second.
Second.
Yes.
All in favor? Haven't decided to deliver before the meeting starts.
Hi, buddy.